I'm live. I'm live and alive. Hi, Nicole. No, northern winter blahs. That means it's really cold all the time. um, that's hard. Terry, hi. Must be cold where you are as well. Dawn, hi. Ooh, Dawn, I know I said we need to talk, and we will talk. So I have a live webinar today at 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And so that'll go on for a few hours. So maybe tomorrow morning, Dawn, because you're going to be on your 3 days of prep for the gallbladder liver flush. And how did day one go for you? Because I think I never eat watermelon. And so the watermelon days, I'm like, wow, this is so delicious. Almost like a treat, especially after the days of nothing. And then the day two, I'm like, oh, I just want food. So I want to know how that goes for you and how it's going for you so far. She's way, good morning. Hi, Scott. So I know it's working. I have a new location, a new office space that I'm working out of. And so this is where we'll see what happens. And again, it's shifted. That unit is on my right side. And when I see it here, it's switched. So, oh goodness. Anyway, but yeah, you could hear me and see me, right? Lighting looks good. Beth, hi, nice to see you. It's hard to find watermelon in January. Dawn, you know what I've done? I just buy the pre-cut stuff. And I normally don't do that. I'm neurotic about toxins and finding organic produce. But for these 2 days, the pre-cut watermelon is what I use. And since it does have a pretty big rind, I'm hoping that it was good. Very hard. I think that what a lot of the detoxers do is they know they're doing this every January. So they actually buy it in the summer when it's fresh and freeze it. And then they make the slushy version that we can also have. So there's that. But yeah, I buy the pre-cut. I mean, I think I bought Trader Joe's out every day I was there, like 7 cartons. But it's really interesting because watermelon, for those of you that are listening, Dawn and I'm almost finished. We're doing a 26-day detox. And this is an ongoing program that I can send the link, and I do send the links in a lot of my videos. It's a fantastic program for shifting your emotions around food, shifting your food in general. And toxicity is a root cause of bone loss. And having a congested liver, kidneys, or if your detoxification channels are blocked, that's going to have an effect on your bone metabolism. So doing a detox, especially one that is structured and safe, is a really important thing to do. Looks good. Okay, thanks, Scott. Yeah. All right. So any questions or anything anybody has that they would like to address today? My focus today was going to be on strong hips because that's definitely an area that we need to focus on. So I plan to do a lot of hip work today. And then if any of you have any specific needs, I'd love for you to share those with me so I can target those areas. And then if not, that's fine too. So if there's nothing else, then let's get started with the practice. And let me make you full screen. Oh, I don't know how to do that. I don't want to deal with it. All right, perfect. Okay, so all right, for today's practice, yoga therapy for osteoporosis, we are going to focus on the hips, creating as much stimulation to the hips as possible. And the good news is that when you focus on your hips, or if you make that a focal point of your practice, you're actually targeting so many, or really probably the most important area when it comes to bone health. We all want and need strong hips. So for today's practice, the props that you'll need are a chair, especially when we do the standing part of the practice. We'll use this as the entry or the beginning of the practice today to relax the hips and to relax the low back. So if you even if you don't use a chair for the standing part of the practice, I'd like to use the chair for the supine or the floor or the all fours part of the practice, or even just the beginning part, the entry part, the part where we get our body and mind integrated. And putting your legs up a chair actually relaxes your hip joint. It deeply sets the hip in the socket. It releases any tension or pulling on the pelvis that exists for many of us. And that can cause a lot of issues with joints and other parts of the body. So having a chair to begin, and if you don't, have an elevation of your feet. So it could be on an ottoman, if you have one at home, or it could be on a bolster, which would be a little bit of a lower level, or you could even do your legs up the wall. So legs up the wall can also be an option for deeply setting your hip joint, relaxing and taking tension out of your pelvis in the way that it's holding the holding patterns throughout the day, and also relax the low back. So the lower lumbar spine, the pelvis, and the hip. So I'd like a chair to begin the practice today. And then throughout the practice, we're going to be using a block, a strap, and a blanket. So having those handy as well will be an important part of the practice. These makes the practice a little bit easier. And then of course, if you have issues and you know you need other props, then go ahead and get those as well. So we're going to take the blanket, put the blanket on the ground, put the other props off to the side for now. Actually, here. And then you bring your chair onto your mat. Now, a couple of important things here. Always with osteoporosis, safe spinal space, trying to keep this area nice and lengthened, or even raising your awareness to it is what matters. So are we going to bend and are we going to shorten this? Yes, at some point throughout the day, especially when you're getting dressed, putting on your socks, putting on your underwear, pants. It's very hard to maintain this perfect spine and add this really deep bend to put on your clothes. So there are times where you're not going to maintain that space. But as long as you have the awareness there always. And you'll notice that when I put my hands here to have this space, the safe spinal space, when I close it, look what happens to my upper spine. There is spinal flexion. So the upper thoracic spine bends, and that's what we want to avoid with osteoporosis. So even when you're coming down into this posture, can you be very aware, spinal health aware, of what's happening to your spine? Bringing yourself down onto the ground. And from there, bringing your legs up. So your legs are either on the wall, they're on the chair, or they are elevated somehow. This is called an inversion when we bring our legs higher than our heart. And now all the fluids, especially the blood that's in the lower legs, is now coming down with gravity to the heart. So this is actually relaxing for the heart. So from a cardiovascular biochemical perspective, we're relaxing our heart rate here, giving the heart a break, which is important. And then musculoskeletal, you're letting the femur bone sink nice and deep in the hip joint. Really feels great for people with hip issues. And then when you come here, feel the sacrum, which is the base of your spine embedded in your pelvis. Feel the sacrum on the ground. Close your eyes. Get very familiar with your body. That's one of the best ways to keep your bones safe as you age, or your bones for life, is making sure that you understand your body, understand your skeleton, how to place it in safe places, and how to create the stress that will build more bones and build thicker, stronger, better quality fracture-proof bones. So with the eyes closed, feeling the sacrum on the ground, and then take your arms, press your arms into the ground, press your head into the ground, lift your rib cage away from the ground to slide your shoulder blades closer to the spine, putting them where they should be, and especially those of you with any kind of curvature, any scoliosis in your spine, anybody with a winging out of a shoulder blade. Place the shoulder blades onto the ground. And then from here, taking your arms out to the side. With the legs, you want to make sure that the back of your legs is touching the chair if you have a chair. And then let your knees move out to the sides. They're going to flop open to the sides, a little relaxation in the hip joint. And then do a little tilting of your pelvis here. So roll towards the tailbone, roll towards the back edge of the pelvis. Roll towards the tailbone, towards the back edge of the pelvis. A little rock and roll. Feel how the lower back flattens when you do this. And then roll onto your sacrum. Low back is away from the ground. Arms are out to the side. Reaching your arms as high as you can to create as much stretch in the chest, shoulder area. Wiggle your jaw side to side. Let your lips touch. And then let your head slowly move side to side. Make this be with breath. Exhale into one side. Inhale back up to center. Exhale the other direction. And inhale back to center. Exhale and inhale. Exhale and then back up. Bringing yourself back to neutral. Let your head relax. Feel the center of your head pressing into the ground. So if it's the top part of your head, tuck your chin towards your chest, lengthen your back neck. And then press your arms into the ground. Palms are open towards the sky. Press your shoulder blades towards the ground. Press your belly button to your spine. Press your sacrum towards the ground, which is the center of the pelvis. And then relax. Letting your body go. The beginning of the practice to set up your internal environment to be in the healing, repairing, bone building zone. So keep your mouth closed. Start to pay attention to your breath. Noticing all that you notice about your breath. And start to notice where the movement is in your torso. So let's do an extended exhalation. When we extend the exhale, we actually create more space for the inhale. The exhale is what stimulates the relaxation healing zone. The inhale brings in oxygen, which creates cellular energy. Energy for building bones, for digesting your food, for managing the thoughts you have throughout the day. So bring your awareness to your breath and start to breathe deep down to your belly. So you actually feel your belly rise and fall with breath. So I'd like to do some counting for extending on the exhale. We're going to inhale for a count of 4 and exhale for a count of 7. Actually, we're going to inhale for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 6 to begin, then 7, and finally getting to 8. So we double the exhale to the inhale. So take a big breath to clear. Exhale. Let's begin. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Adding on. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Adding on. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Continue on your own. Keep your mind busy with counting. Breathe down to your belly. Mouth is closed, breathing through your nose. Keep counting. 4 on the inhale, 8 if you can on the exhale. And then finish the breath that you're on. Take 3 more rounds of breath like this. And when you finish that last breath, let the breath go. Let your body breathe itself. Notice if you hear any digestive sounding in your body. Movement of fluids through your gut. It's a sign of the relaxation zone being stimulated. Bring your awareness to your fingers and toes as you start to bring movement into your fingers and toes. Reach your arms overhead, stretch. Feel the stretch in your belly. Draw the lower ribs away from the pelvis as you stretch your midsection. And then draw the knees towards the chest. Bring the knees into your chest, rock side to side. And then let your legs go up in the air. Point your feet and flex. Point and flex. Point and flex. And then circles. Let your feet be more than hip distance apart, so pretty wide here. In one direction and then in the other direction. And draw the knees into your chest. Come onto your side. From here, take your hand on the ground. Make sure you're using your pushing muscles, not your pulling muscles. Don't pull with your head and neck, especially if you have upper back and head and neck issues. That contributes to it. Take your hand on the ground. Use your elbow, use your hand to strongly push yourself up to seated. And then bring yourself all the way up. Noticing how you feel after that. Very therapeutic for hips and for pelvis and for low back. So notice if that happened for you. Take the chair off to the side. And then come on to your blanket. Take your blanket. You're going to fold your blanket in two. And if you happen to have tight hips, fold the blanket again so it's even higher. So depending, and how would you know if you have tight hips? Well, number one, you may know. But if you don't know, and you come into a crisscross position, if your knees are elevated, that's a sign of tightness in the hip joint, tightness in the low back, tightness in the leg muscles. So if you do have tightness in your body, elevate yourself higher. So sit a little higher in a folded blanket or sit on a bolster or something to give you a little bit more support. So let's do our warm up today in a seated position. First, we're going to begin with warming up the hips, warming up the spine. We're going to do what's called a Sufi grind. Imagine that your spine is like a wooden stick in a big cauldron of soup that you're stirring. So we're going to use our spine. We're not bending our spine. We keep the spine nice and long. So first begin with counterclockwise movements. Counterclockwise movements. And close your eyes so that you start to feel the body weight shifting on your seat. So as you start to do the small counterclock movements, take your hands are on your thighs. Use the heel of your hand to push away from your legs so that you can keep that nice upright spinal position. So counterclockwise, start going a little bit bigger with your circles. This does a lot of stretching in the hip joint and in the low back and in the abdominal area. So notice if that's something you're feeling. Going wider and bigger with your circles. Your eyes are closed so you can actually feel what's happening in your body. And then slow down the movement. Inhale when your body comes forward. Exhale when your body goes back. Inhale when your body comes forward. Exhale when your body goes back. You inhale when you go forward. You exhale when you go back. And then one more circle in this direction. Notice the stretching in the hip joint. Notice stretching in the lower back. And then bring yourself back to center. Sit nice and tall. Let's go the other direction, beginning with circles in the other direction, the clockwise direction. Start small at first. Hands are on the thighs. Spine is nice and long. Eyes are closed so you feel the stretching. You could use the heel of the hand to push your knees down. If you don't have any issues in your knees, or if you don't have a lot of tightness in your hips. So if your knees are pretty low and you push down, you're going to get a little deeper stretch in the hip joint. But if you do have a lot of tightness there, that might be aggravating. So as always, modify the practice to fit your body. Start to get bigger with your circles. Starting to loosen up the tightness in the hip joint. allowing the legs to bend deeply, to move in the way that we want and need them to move for our bone health. We want our bending to take place in the hip joint, not in the spine. So loosening up, softening up that connection of the hip to the pelvis. Start to get bigger with your circles. And even bigger, slowing down, inhale forward, exhale back. Inhale forward, exhale back. And take one more circle. And then bring yourself back to center, sit nice and tall, open your eyes, take your legs forward, shake out your legs. So when we crisscross our legs, we close off the flow of fluids down to the feet. So opening up your legs, it's like kinking a hose, opening it up and allowing the flow of the fluids. So moving your legs to a straight position, then go ahead and bend your legs again. Now, the leg that's in the front, switch it and put it in the back. And then that might feel a little awkward to you because we do have a natural pattern. We come into a particular fold with our arms and our legs every single time. If you do this a few times, you're going to notice the same forearm goes on top. And if you try to switch it, it feels weird. So do that. Try to switch it. Repatterning your brain for brain health, for keeping our minds sharp and focused, can also be good in the long run when it comes to fall prevention and maintaining balance. So the opposite leg, the opposite arm, and then bring yourself here. The spine moves in 6 ranges of motion. Let's move through those ranges, and especially the safe one when it comes to osteoporosis, safe movement patterns. So taking your hands forward and then sliding your hands back, bringing your chest forward, bending your spine in a back bend. This is a safe position for osteoporosis. Keep your elbows at your side. Reach along with your throat, open up your throat, look forward and pretty high up the wall, maybe where the wall and the ceiling meets. Take an inhale here. As you exhale, slide your hands to your knees. Rock on your pelvis so that your low back flattens out. You add flexion into lower lumbar, but you stop at the thoracic spine. You maintain the safe spinal space when you bring a posterior tilt to your pelvis and flexion to the lower lumbar spine, and you stop right there. And then you inhale to come forward into extension. Exhale, only flexion in lumbar spine for a little stretch and release. Inhale forward, exhale back. Inhale, exhale. Go pretty fat, pretty strong here. So go through full range of motion. And then bring yourself back to center. Coming into lateral flexion, side bending. Now, to keep this safe for osteoporosis or osteopenia for our bones, make sure your hand is not in front of your face. You're not rounding your spine as you bend forward. You're not closing off your safe spinal space as you come forward. You're actually keeping it long and moving side to side. You could either have your hand on your shoulder and do the elbow only, or your hand can go up. Try to look forward and not even be able to see your arm as your arm moves side to side through this movement. Very important that when you move your spine, you move it safely. Stretching the muscles of rotation, the muscles that stabilize your spine, the muscles that support alignment in the spine, which is critical for bone health. And then bring yourself back to center. That was lateral flexion side to side. The last movement pattern is rotation. So let's begin by bringing this into the head first. So take your hands on your thighs, look up and back with your head, and your shoulders may move a little bit as well. Up and back. Up and back. Now let your hands go with you. So as you look up and back, let your hand go so that your elbow goes behind you. Elbow behind you. That's what helps to keep that upper back from going into flexion. Noticing here the safe spinal space when you do rotation stays the same. Rotation is unsafe if you close off that safe spinal space area. So allow safe spinal space to come into your body, always maintaining that, and then adding those rotational forces. The next time you come to your right, stay there. Take your hand on your right knee, your left hand on the right knee, push down, get tall, and rotate. Take one more breath. Bring yourself up and back to center. Let's go to the other side. Take your right hand on your left leg, left hand behind you. Push down, get tall. Come into rotation. Feel whatever needs to stretch, stretch. Take one more breath. And then we're going to come into stretching the inner thighs. So you want to take your legs here wide and bring your body forward so you actually feel like you're falling forward off the blanket that you're on. You could bring your hands in front of you. If there's a lot of tightness, you could take a block and put a block in front of you to push down, making sure you don't collapse into this. If you are flexible, you want to come forward to deepen the stretch. The bending takes place in the hip joint, not in the spine. So make sure you maintain that space when you come forward. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and bring yourself up. Take the soles of the feet together. Knees are out to the side. Hold onto your feet. Sit nice and tall. Push your knees towards the ground and feel the stretch on the inner thighs. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself up. So warming up the spine, warming up the hips, really important for the practice. Let's continue on moving through some movements that will warm up our body and also strengthen and do what we need at the same time. So I'd like to do planks to start with because these are some of the stronger postures. They require a lot of muscles. The beginning of the practice is a nice place to do these. If you have a wall, we will be doing the side plank, which is great for spinal health. Side plank actually strengthens the muscles along the side of your spine. It is a challenging posture. So if you can do it at a wall, you have a better chance of having some support when you do this. I'll give some options though. Let's first come into regular plank. So bring your hands onto the floor underneath your shoulders, stacking your joints, wrists, elbows, shoulders. Take one foot back first, push through the foot, bending all 5 toes, push through the heel. Feel that stretch coming into the legs, feel the stretch coming into the calf area, and then switch legs. Really bend all 5 toes. Make sure you're not just on the big toe and the second toe. So bending your toes, keep your arms straight. And then with the hands, turn the pointer fingers forward. That'll be a little bit more relaxing for that wrist joint and still create the stimulation in the wrist that we like. So let's come into the plank. Come up into your plank. So whether you need to do the modified variation where you have your knees and shins on the ground, you could do that. Or come all the way up. Push through your heels. Push away from the floor with your hands and push away from the floor with your feet. Push through the center of your heels. Feel the strength in your body. This is a very strong posture. Feel the strength. Keeping your head active as well, whether the eyes are open or closed. If you would like a little bit more challenge, bring your feet to about 4 inches apart, which is hip distance. Then push the left leg into the floor, lift the right leg up. So only an option if this is available for you. You could try it, and if you need to come down a little earlier than I do, you could do that. Always challenging yourself appropriately. That's what's going to build stronger muscles, stronger bones, stronger body. Let's switch, put the right foot onto the floor, lift the left leg up. Use the breath to help you. So deep breaths to help bring in oxygen, which is the energy the muscles need. Bring the left foot down. Push your feet into the floor. Push away from the floor with your hands. Push away from the floor with your feet. Push your heels back. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself down. Catching your breath between postures, especially when you do the more challenging postures. Close your eyes, close your mouth. Deep, deep breaths to bring in more oxygen to slow down your heart rate. And extend your exhale. So let the breath come in deeply, let it go out slowly. So if you do choose to challenge yourself extra sometimes, then it is good to bring in the relaxation a little longer when your body needs that. So we're going to come into side plank, Vasisthasana. Great for spinal health, great for body strength. Now this traditionally, the posture is on the pinky toe edge coming onto the side of your body. You can bring the foot forward to help lift the pelvis. The most important part is you don't let your pelvis sag, but you push away to lift your pelvis. And then if you need the modified variation, you could do the half moon posture, being on the bottom leg, still doing lateral chain strengthening. So take your hands on the ground, take your feet behind you, let the feet touch, lift the pelvis up and roll onto one side. If you're at a wall, it's really nice because you could use your fingers on the wall to help balance here, which makes you feel a little bit more safe and then gives you that access to lengthen your spine. Really push away from the floor. Push away from the floor with your pinky toe edge. So bring your awareness down to your feet. Push away from the floor to lift your pelvis away from the floor, and then reach through the fingers that are up in the air, stacking the hips, stacking the shoulder blades. This is a lateral or a side moving position in your body. Take one more breath, and then bring yourself back down. Come all the way down, come all the way out. We'll come to the other side. Bring yourself onto your hands, stacking your joints, bring the feet right behind you, and then lifting the pelvis, coming into the posture on this side. And the whole time working to push away from the floor with the inner edge of the feet. And then lengthening your spine, feeling that side presentation of your body, the stacking of the joints. Bring the top leg forward if you need, or be in that modified half moon position. Use your breath. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself out. Bring yourself to a relaxation position. It could be kneeling or crisscross. Close your eyes, deepen your breath, extend your exhale. One more breath. And then break your eyes open. So let's come into a posture that is a back bend. It strengthens the muscles of posture in the upper back. It's called camel. So we work on this upper back bend, but it's also lengthening for the hip joints. So stretching the hips, stretching the pelvis, and really important, all of this for bone health. So a couple of variations to do this. You could take your strap. This could be where your hands go. So in your camel, you could have your hands in the strap to push away from each other. You could hold on to your elbows in camel. You could clasp your hands in camel, or you could use your hands on the top of your pelvis. So either fists on the top of the pelvis or hands to help maintain a neutral pelvis and not get sway back in your low back, not having the pelvis tilt forward. You're going to take the block, bringing the block between your ankles. So let the block go between the ankles. And then whatever position you're going to do, you could do the strap, you could clasp your hands, you could put your fists. For those of you with low back issues and have a pretty strong low back curve, if you're not able to learn the muscles that help to maintain a neutral pelvis, and you go into that anterior tilt and that deep lower lumbar curve when you back bend, then you could put your hands, the fists on the top of the pelvis or the heel of the hand to help bring that pelvis into more of a neutral position as opposed to that tilted forward position. The strap can be handy, the clasp, it's all an individual practice. So see what works for you. But what we want to try is to get the bend in the upper body and then maintain the lower. So to come into camel, if you contract your buttocks, so if you contract your buttocks and pull your tailbone down, that can help to put your pelvis in the position properly to protect the low back when you do the camel. So squeeze the block, squeeze the tushy, pull the tailbone down with the muscles of the buttocks, and then push out on your strap, push down, and then shoulder blades are towards each other, bending the upper spine in this deep back bend in your camel posture. Push out on the strap, squeeze the block, squeeze the tushy, pull your tailbone down, try to bend your upper spine, stretch the upper spine. You may even feel the stretch that comes into the hips as you lengthen the front of your body. Long spine, and then adding extension to the upper spine. Squeeze the tushy, pull the tailbone down, deep breaths. Take one more breath, and then bring yourself out. With the block behind you, it's nice to sit down on the block. So sitting down on the block, if your knees will let you, to take a break, bring yourself onto the block, sit nice and tall. Take your hands out to the side, bring your hands to your shoulders. And then bring your hands to your shoulders. Bring your shoulders into a moving pattern by rotating the elbows. Think about the elbows drawing circles on a piece of paper. So the elbows are doing the movement. Bring the elbows closer, bring them up. And then bring yourself to a static position. Checking in with your body. So we're going to come to standing. Having a wall or using a chair may be something that will be helpful, especially if you have balance issues. I'd like to come to the standing position through down dog, bending the hips, so practicing that hip joint bend. Come up to a kneeling position and practice by pushing your tushy back and bending your hip joint. So starting to get a little more lubrication in the hips, push the tushy back, look forward with your gaze. The bend is in the hip joint, not in your spine. Notice how your spine isn't doing anything and everything is happening in the hips. And then coming into a down dog, take your hands, pointer fingers are forward, hands are pretty wide. Walk your knees back to the very back edge of your blanket, flip your toes under. And then keep the knees bent as you lift the tushy in the air and strongly bend your hip joint. Take one heel at a time and push the heel strongly towards the ground so that you feel the calf and the back of your leg stretch. Your gaze is forward. It's either right in alignment with your wrists or even a little forward. But do not let your head hang. Do not let your spine round. Don't let your arms bend. So keep your arms pretty straight, pushing your heels down. Push both heels towards the ground at the same time. You could straighten your legs or keep your knees bent. Feel that stretch in the calves. Push away from the floor. A lot of upper body strength here. Use the pushing muscles. Push your arms to push your body back. Push your heels down. And then bend your knees. Slowly start to walk your hands back to your feet.
Let your feet touch the ground. Let your feet be really wide here. Widen the stance of your feet. Take one hand at a time. Let your gaze come forward. Only your torso moves, but your hips stay in that deep flexion and your body stays back. So tushy is back, torso rises. Stay here. Let your blood calibrate for fall prevention, to not get dizzy. Slowly bringing yourself up to standing. And then clearing your space, bending your hips. Put your blanket off to the side. Put your strap off to the side. You'll need your block for the standing practice, and you may need a chair. So get whatever you need. If you need a chair, go ahead and make sure you have that. So I'll bring the chair over. And the block and a chair. Okay, so let's come into tree. And first we'll do the mountain pose. So preparing to do tree, which is the balance posture, I like to set up with mountain, which is a posture of alignment. And I like to emphasize that this is not just a, here I stand and that's it. I want you to work at this. So push your feet into the floor. Feel like you're ripping the floor apart. You'll feel some activity in the glutes or the hips. Take your hands down alongside your body. Reach down strongly so you'll start to feel a stretch in the chest area, and push your hands back. Bring your awareness to your feet. Push all 10 toes into the floor. Push the balls of the feet, both of them right and left, into the floor. Push the heels into the floor and the pinky toe edges of your feet into the floor. So feel all of that. Feel the feet activate. And then push the top thighs back. And when you push the top thighs back, you'll feel that you get to put your pelvis in a neutral position. As you push your top thighs back, you can point your tailbone down towards the ground. And then bring your awareness to your core. Imagine it's a tube of toothpaste. Squeeze the toothpaste from the core area up underneath the rib cage. And get a little taller when you do this. And then align your head on top of your spine. You may need to push it back. Reach down with the fingers, back with the hands. Chin is parallel towards the ground. Feel this position in your body. This is mountain. Keep moving in this mountain. Keep feeling this mountain. From here, we're going to go into tree. So to come into tree, you should be in a perfect aligned position for this. You could walk your feet so that they touch, for those of you that have a little stronger balance. And then push your body weight over to your weaker side. Bend your opposite knee. Keep your pelvis still as you bring your knee out to the side. Bring your foot up in between your knee and your ankle. Push down with your foot, down with your hands. Push your top thigh back on your standing leg to bring your pelvis into an aligned position, creating stimulation in that standing leg hip joint, compressive force, pushing the femur bone deep into the socket of the pelvis. That's the forces that are osteogenic loading, which creates stronger bones. The forces at which you demand more, the bone strengthens in. So push away from the floor, push your top thigh back, tailbone down, chest lifted, spine long. Find a focal point to focus on. Take one more breath. To come out softly, slowly, back to a neutral position with your feet, back to mountain with your body. Body weight to the other side, bend the toes, knee out to the side. Bring the foot up in between the ankle and the knee. Push the foot into the floor. Push the top thigh back. Arrange your pelvis. Arrange the hip joint in a neutral, aligned position. Hands are reaching down and back. Long spine, chin parallel towards the ground. Demanding more straight up and down in the femur bone. So the angle that we're creating the force is in the way that you stand and move throughout your day. Gravity is coming down through the midline, through the front of that hip joint, and your weight bearing on just that leg, all of your body weight. One more breath. And then release back to mountain, find alignment, and then release. Let's come into chair pose. So a few ways you can do this. If you have a chair, I'd like you to sit in the chair and come out of the chair. It'll be a deeper place to go. If you do not have a chair, just put the block between your thighs and you'll come down into your chair. So you're either going to enter the chair or we're going to enter it from already a deep hip flexion position. So bring the feet closer to your body. Feet are closer to the body than the knees. Bring your hands alongside your body. Bring yourself forward, squeeze the block, bring yourself out of the chair. If you're in a standing position, lower down as if you were sitting back on a chair. Reach long with your hands. Squeeze the block, push away from the floor, and then activate the glutes to point your tailbone down to protect your low back. The deeper you go in the hip joint, the more forces you're creating for your hip, for your pelvis, the more forces you're creating for your glutes, your quads, your hamstrings. Bigger, stronger muscles equal bigger, stronger bones. Deeper if you can, higher with your body. Deeper with the lower body, higher with the arms. Deeper with the lower body, higher with the arms. Squeeze the block, tailbone down, take one more breath. And then bring yourself up and out. So let's clear the space of the chair, unless of course you need it. So we're going to come into a triangle position. Having a block is nice. If you need a chair, having the chair on the side that you're moving towards may be helpful. If you have a wall, that's nice for balance if you need that. So take your legs really wide and then bring the block into the front hand. Toes move away from you, heel moves away from you. Wide stance here in the triangle. Take your hand on in the block. You're going to exhale. As you inhale, reach long with the block. Keep the front leg straight. Reach away from your body with the block. Bring your back hand up. Bring your hand down so either the block can go on the lower leg, or if you have enough flexibility in your legs, you can come all the way down, keeping straight legs. The goal here in triangle, straight legs to stretch the leg muscles, pulling on the bones of the pelvis and the hips, pushing the hip bone into the socket of the hip joint to create forces for bone stimulation there. And you're also pulling on pelvic bones as you add forces in your pelvis. Now push away from the floor, get long in your spine, and rotate your heart up towards the sky, adding a little rotational force for the lumbar spine, creating some forces there as well. So push away from the floor, pull the floor apart with your feet, point your tailbone down to the inner heel, reach long with your spine, bend your hip joint deeply, and then rotate your heart up towards the sky. Flexible joints, strong joints. Take one more breath. Keep the block in your hand, keep your legs straight, bring yourself up. Let's go to the other side. Prepare your feet, toes are away, heel is away. Block is in the front hand. Move the chair if you have a chair. Exhale. As you inhale, reach long with your front arm, bending that front hip. And then wherever the block goes, on the lower leg, maybe on the ground, arm up towards the sky, rip the floor apart with your feet. Get tall in your torso. Tailbone points down towards that back and your heel. You push away from the block. You're not leaning on the block. So you should be able to take your hand away from the block and still hold yourself in this position, or from the chair. Push away to get long and add that rotational force up towards the sky. Bend is in the hip joint, spine is long, stretches on the legs. Rip the floor apart with your feet. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself back up, all the way up and all the way out. Put your block down by bending your hip, not your spine. Bring yourself into Tadasana to take a break. And then we're going to move on to Warrior Two. I'd like to do Warrior Two with the block at the wall. And this is good for knee health and hip health, activating the lateral chain muscles by pushing the block into the wall and having to hold the block into the wall. So if you have a wall, you could do this with a wall. If you don't have the wall with you, then you can do the traditional Warrior Two. So let's take the legs wide. And the front leg is where the block is going to go, so have the hand in the front leg. Take your toes away from you, heel away from you. And then you need to be block distance from the wall if you're going to do this posture with the block. So take your back hand on your thigh, take an exhale. And then inhale by sliding the back hand down the back leg, pushing away from the back pinky toe edge of the foot, and lowering down into the Warrior Two, bending the front knee. Bring your block on the wall and you push your knee to hold the block there. Now, the deeper you go in the bend in the front knee, the more forces you create in your hip and in your muscles and bones. Shoulders are forward, up and down. Bring your arms up. Now, bring in the postural aspect of Warrior. Push the floor, like rip the floor apart with your feet. Reach long with your hands. Push back. If you're near the wall, you can even touch the wall with your pinkies. Lower your shoulders. Slide your shoulder blades towards each other. Tailbone down. Long spine, hold the block there with your leg, with the muscles of the side body, if you're doing this against the wall. Otherwise, keep that front leg active by pushing the leg to the side. Long spine, lifted heart. Take one more breath. If you have the block near the wall, reach down and get it. Bring yourself out of the Warrior Two. We'll go to the other side. Prepare your feet. Toes are away from you. Heel is away. Hand is on the leg in the back and the block in the front. You're activating the back foot, lifting the arch off, pushing through the pinky toe edge to lower down. Keep the hand in the back leg. Exhale. As you inhale, push away from the back leg. Let the hand go down the back leg. Front hand comes up, and then put the block as you lower down into your deepest range of motion in your hips and your knees. Put the block there to be held by the leg. Bring your shoulders forward, up, back, and down, and then the arms come up. Push your hands back. Touch the wall if you're near the wall, or push them back as if there was a wall behind you. Rip the floor apart with your feet, tall in your spine. Be as deep as you can in that front knee. The deeper bend creates more forces. And then active feet, the arches are lifting away from the floor. So balance and fall prevention begins in the feet. So use your feet in this posture. Tall spine, long neck. Push into the pinky toe edge of the back foot. Rip the floor apart. Get tall in your body. Lift your heart. Take one more breath. And then reach down to get the block. Bring yourself out. Bring the block onto the floor. Bring yourself all the way back to center. Shake your legs. So feel all that action in the legs.
Working the leg muscles and getting stronger leg muscles is how we get a stronger pelvis and stronger hips. It's also how we age better and how we work on fall prevention. So really working on this part of the body. So let's do a balance, a side balance posture where we go onto the side of the hip capsule. It's called half moon or Ardha Chandrasana. So you could do this with a chair, or doing it near a wall is really nice. Middle of the room makes it a more challenging posture because there's a lot of balance to this. So bring your foot parallel towards the wall, the block on the floor in front of you. And if you're going to be near the wall, you would start with your body touching it or just a few inches away from the wall. And the standing leg is slightly bent as you lift up into the side position. So you want your heart to face forward, your stacked hip joint, stacked shoulder blades. Then you want your leg that is lifting to be lifted to body height. And then your arm could either reach up and over if you keep it alongside your body, or you could keep it straight up. Try to stack the hips, stack the shoulders. You could have a slight bend in the standing leg if that felt a little bit more stable for you from balance. Long spine, long body, and then active feet. Pull the toes towards you with that lifted leg. Take one more breath. And then you're going to bend the leg, roll your body forward, bring yourself out, bring yourself up, and let's come to the other side. Block goes onto the ground, toes face the block. You're going to bend your standing leg, bring your hand onto the block, and then you come into this by activating the foot, lifting the leg, bringing yourself into this posture, half moon. If you are against the wall, let both buttocks touch the wall, the top buttock as well. Leg is lifted to come right off of your body. When you're against the wall, you could look down to see where your leg is. If you're not against the wall, it's a little bit more challenged. That'll mess up your balance and might cause you to come out of the posture. If you need the standing leg to be bent, do that. Do whatever you need. You could bring the arm up and over your head. Your posture, your challenge. Or whatever it is, make it a challenge. Take one more breath. And then you're going to bend your standing leg, bring yourself out, bring yourself all the way down and out of the posture. So I'd like to do twisted triangle. Doing this with a chair may be something that you'd like to do. I want to do this at the wall, away from the wall, using the wall to just balance one hip joint. So it's going to be a little bit of balance for me against the wall. And it's going to help with the balance, but allow me still to go into the deep range of motion. Now this requires quite a bit of leg flexibility. So balance, flexibility, and strength are all a part of this posture. It's one of the most challenging postures that we do in the practice for osteoporosis. So you're going to bring your foot forward. The foot forward is the one you're rotating over. So I'm going to rotate away from the wall. So if you are doing this, you start with your foot forward and your hip against the wall. And then you take your arm straight up the wall, pinky edges touching, block is in front of you, and then reach long with your hand as you bend the hip joint coming forward. You're going to feel the stretch in the front of your leg. For some of you, you may need a chair there because you don't have enough flexibility to bend at the hip joint to go low. So you want your spine to stay nice and long here, no rounding of the spine. And then you start to rotate your heart forward. Push away from the floor with your feet. Rotate, rotate, rotate in your spine. Creating some extra tension in that front leg hip joint, in the spine, in the hips. Push away from the back big toe and see if you can bring a little bit more length into your spine, a little bit more lift in your torso, in the deep hip flexion, and rotate forward. Working a little bit more in the strength aspect of this posture when you're at the wall, managing the balance part of the posture.
and really create a torquing action. You want to create spiral action in your body to put those spiralizing forces into your bones. A lot of hip, a lot of spine here. Deep hip bend. Take one more breath. To come out, you bend the front leg, keep your head lifted, bring yourself up and move yourself out. We'll go to the other side. Block is forward. You bring your foot forward that you're going to rotate over, your other foot back. Hip can be touching the wall or pretty close to it to begin with. Take your hand up, pinky toe or pinky edge touches the wall. And then you inhale to bend forward, bending in that hip joint, front hip joint, and start feeling the stretch on the legs. And then come across to bring your hand onto the block, pushing away from the block, lengthening your spine and rotating forward. Push away from the back leg, keep spiraling. Your hip may slide along the wall as you bring a little spiral action into your pelvis. So keep creating tension in this posture. Don't get somewhere and just hang out. Keep spiraling, push away from the back foot. Spiral your body, lengthen your spine. Rotate your heart over that front leg. Long spine, rotate. Take one more breath. Bend the standing leg, bring yourself up, bring yourself out, come back to mountain and catch a breath. And do these. We're going to do the side angle. I'm going to do this near the wall to get a little bit more torquing, a little bit more stretching, a little more alignment as if I'm in between two sheets of glass. When you try to get your body like it's in between two sheets of glass, making sure you don't have the tushy too far back when you're coming into some of these postures. It can be a nice way to refine the posture and kind of the postures and make them a little bit more challenging. So taking the legs wide, keep the block in the side you're going to, take the feet away and the heel away. So toes away, heel away. Hand on the back thigh. You're going to inhale to lower down into this posture. Bring both hands up. Reach long. You could put your hand on your thigh and come into side angle here. So you could have your hand on your thigh. For those that are a little bit more flexible, you could bend deeper in that front leg, put your hand on your block. So your hand is either on your thigh or it's on the block. Rip the floor apart with your feet. Push your hand into that front knee and try to turn your body forward and your heart up towards the sky. So more spiral action, creating a lot of pelvic strength here, a lot of hip strength, lower body leg strength, and rotational forces for spinal strength. Take one more breath. Bring yourself back up and out. Take the block. Block is going to go to the other side. Toes to the side, heel is away. Back hand is on the thigh. Exhale. As you inhale, bending that front leg to come down into the warrior two. Hands up. Reach long. Bring your hand on top of your thigh for side angle or end that inner knee. You decide. The deeper you bend in the front leg, the more forces you're putting in the hip and the pelvis and the muscles. Rip the floor apart with your feet. Very active here. Having the wall there helps you go deeper in movement, helps to manage the balance in the joints, and you can focus a little bit more on strength when you use the wall. Or if balance is an issue, then you can bring in a little bit more confidence when you're practicing.
Long spine rotated up towards the sky. Take one more breath. Bring yourself back to the warrior two and all the way out. Find mountain, catch your breath. Let's inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the nose. One more big inhale. Keep the mouth closed, but still make that sound with the mouth closed. Shake your limbs. So it's time for Shavasana. Very valuable posture to put your body back into the zone for bone building now that you've created a lot of stimulation. You could go back to bringing your legs up the chair, or you could come into legs up the wall. And I'd like to show you how to get into that, especially if you have the wall. So to come into legs up the wall, if you start with your body touching the wall, and you keep your body touching the wall as you bring yourself down onto the ground, or just close to the wall, and then bring your legs up. So the goal is not to have your pelvis touch. Some of you may, but that's not what the goal is. You don't want to come into a lot of pulling on the pelvic area. You want the legs to sink deep into the socket so you can find that neutral pelvis without that posterior tilt. So you don't want to be too close. You want it to be just right for your body. Arms are to the side or legs up the chair, you decide. Gently begin to deepen your breath. Bringing movement into your hands, into your feet. Draw your knees into your chest, rocking side to side. And then all the way onto your side. Pushing away from the floor to come up into a seated or kneeling position to close the practice. Keep your eyes closed. Close the practice with sound, a gentle humming sound on your exhalation. Take your hands together, rub your hands together, push your heart to your hands to your heart. Sit nice and tall. Take a big exhale to create space. Inhale deeply. Bowing in gratitude for the opportunity to practice. Stronger hips, stronger legs, stronger lower body, stronger balance, all possible with practice. All right, so definitely a stronger practice. I want to hear from some of you. Hi, Patty. Hopefully you're all still here. So I'd like to know how you feel. Any questions for me? I'm doing a live webinar today at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard. And the topic is slowing down, reversing, is slowing down, stopping, or reversing bone loss even possible? And I will share exactly why, yes, it is possible and how you do that. Good, Nicole. And I hope, not only do I hope that you feel the practice, Nicole, I hope that from a mental emotional layer, it was enough to warm you up, to shift your mindset from where you are right now in terms of the weather and all that stuff, and bringing a smile on your face and bringing you into a positive mindset place or a place of empowerment. So I hope that that is something that happened for you as well today. You're welcome, Beth. She's way great. Terry, great. I love to have you here, Terry, and I love that you're here. Just so amazing. Thanks, Nicole. Yeah, so that detox, I lost 7 or 8 pounds. So I am kind of back to my fighting weight, so to speak. That shouldn't be the way we say it, right? Fighting. What am I fighting? I don't look at it as fighting anything. Just back to, just like cleared away some of the stuff that gets in the way of being your shiny self. All right. So thanks so much for joining me. Hopefully I'll see some of you on that webinar. If you want to sign up, go to my website, DebbieRobinson.com. And good, Patty. I love that. Yeah, practice helps the blahs. Yeah, well, we all get those blahs, right? So we just need to kind of get right back up on that horse again. And for you, literally, Nicole, because you sent me that picture of you in the snow with the horse, which is amazing. You know what, Nicole? Go blow in the nose of that big, beautiful beast. Rub that big, beautiful horse that I saw you with. That should hopefully be what does the tricks too. I will tell you, my daughter, we had a horse for a lot of years, and I found that I learned so much from that boy, from Duke. He was my teacher. I learned so much from that horse. So anyway, go play with him. All right, or her. Okay, bye. Like and subscribe, by the way, if you haven't already. That's helpful to me. Thank you.